Okay, we'll do Lord of the Flies. This is the 7 to 35, the guided tour. And this one's going to be short because we just barely got started. We got to read the first 20 pages and then we can actually get someplace. So there's not very much to describe, just a little bit to get us headed in the right direction. Here we go. So the island is something of a prison. It has basic rations, fruit, and water that can be gathered with no effort really at all. But it also has protein if you want to work for it, little tiny crabs, tiny beach minnows, um, little itty bitty things to eat, not very much of anything at all. Um, and it's that's one of the bitter complaints from Piggy. I had just a crab. There's nothing to him at all. And complaining that there was very little in the tide pools that you could gather. And itty bitty fish that are so small that how do you get the heads and the guts out of them? I mean, you'd probably have to eat them whole. They eventually discover, and it doesn't take very long at all, a couple pages in, that there's piglets, and where there's piglets, there's full-size pigs. So pigs must be caught, but they take collective efforts. You have to have everybody working together to get that to happen. Teamwork is required. Takes all the time and effort for the entire hunting day. Nothing else gets done when you're doing that kind of stuff, and you waste a lot of energy, right? Um, they forgot to get the names of everyone and do a head count. That I apparently missed one word there, right there. Oh well. To do a head count, and Piggy's glasses bring fire. It's something to note right from the very beginning as a symbolic representation. It's already doing something more than just enabling him to see. And it does enable him to see, maybe he can see things that others can't because he has a special tool, these special glasses. Already easily you can see things how the glasses might have lots of different symbolic representations. The island again, prison has just enough, but if you work together, you'll have enough more so that you'll be safer and you might survive longer. But it doesn't have really enough to completely survive and make it. It just has enough for you to really a minimum of survival level of stuff. So that means that there's not like a lot of extra. When there's a lot of extra, people are at their happiest. When there's lots of extra food and lots of extra and no work to get it. When people are having to struggle a little bit, that's when people are at their worst. So this puts a little bit of the additional pressure on it. The conch calls the gathering, and it's the speak tool. Literally, you have to have the conch, and then people will listen to you. It represents society and social laws from the time before they got on this plane and before the wreck. Um, a reminder of life before the island. Um, Ralph is elected before anyone knew what he was really like because of a variety of just circumstances falling together. He had the conch, he was big enough, he blew it loud enough, it worked, they came running, etc. He said a few things that people like the sounds of. Jack has natural leadership abilities and qualities, and he's drawn to it. He survives, he adapts, and thrives well. He quickly embraces the situation and finds out a vital role that he can play in it, that he wants to play in it, and becomes vital to the situation. That's some of his good qualities. His bad qualities, he bullies Piggy and he's mean. Um, and he wants things just for himself, and he's not worried a whole lot about whether or not how that affects other people. Um, Piggy has good ideas and he's reasonable at articulating them, but he doesn't have any charisma. He's not the person that anybody wants to get behind and say, he's just everybody likes him because he's just such a interesting, unusual person. He lacks the interesting and unusual part. He's just people are just mean to him. He just seems to bring out. He has a target on his back from everybody. Ralph is mean to him, but it's only until we see Jack. Once we see Jack, then we really see what mean is to Piggy. But otherwise, Ralph just shows us that everybody laughs at Piggy. Even the little kids laugh at Piggy. Ralph likes the old ways, law and order, doing things properly, and thus succeeding and winning by playing by the rules. Just tell him the rules, tell him the game, and then he wins. His words are sometimes awkward. That's about it for Ralph. But he's going to want them to go back to the old ways because that's where he excelled. And Jack is going to be somebody who's going to look at this whole situation and go, you know what we need? We need this. I'm going to go provide that, and then I'm going to be Mr. Big Shot. And so they really are going to be, one's going to be let's stay the way it was, and one's going to be, hey, let's accept where we're at and move forward. So that's going to definitely draw a little bit of conflict. Only Piggy wants to worry about the needs of the little ones. This is another thing that should be mentioned. I mean, they make fun of him, they laugh at him, but he's the only one that actually has their best interests at heart ever. Jack is quick on his feet with his tongue, and he's emotional and judgmental. He is convincing, and he offers fun right now. And there is already a smoldering conflict between Jack and anybody else who challenges his leadership and power. Anybody. Right now, we're seeing it towards Piggy and towards Ralph in the very beginning, but you will see that he's universal. If you try to stand up to Jack in any way, he goes after you. That's one of his traits. That's about all that we can get started with. We can't say a whole lot about too many big, deep symbols and other things because I'm only expecting you to have got about 15, 20 pages in. So that's it for our first one on the guided tour of The Lord of the Flies. And it's going to be quite a read, quite a wild roller coaster of an adventure. I promise you that.